All right, hey guys, welcome back to the Gulf Coast Growth Show. I'm your host, Jason Lee, and my co-host, Zeke Smith, has been replaced by Captain Matt Glass. No, I'm just kidding. So Zeke is not with us today because we've got two captains joining us, and so we wanted to make sure we were able to get them both on the show to share a little bit about what the Houston pilots are doing. It's one of the coolest things about the ship channel is the pilots, but not a lot of people know about them. So one of my favorite episodes is when we can have you guys come in and kind of educate people on it. I think of them like as the special ops of the guys out there on the ship, driving these giant boats and some of the cool stuff that you guys are doing, just the ships that blow my mind and on all the intricacies, I guess, that go into it. So I'm excited to have you guys join us today and kind of educate our audience. So first of all, we're joined by Captain Clint. Is it pronounced Winegar?
Winegar.
And then Captain Matt Glass, way easier to say.
Yes.
Way easier to say. So second officer, and then you guys are the presiding officer, and then second officer of the Houston pilots. And total in all, how many Houston pilots are there?
We're close to 100. So we fluctuate about 100. We have about 4 retirees a year, and then we add on about four new pilots a year.
Wow. Okay. Fantastic. Okay. And then so for those that are just tuning in and don't really know what the pilots are, tell us a little bit about what they are, what you guys do, and a little bit about the background.
Sure. Most of all the ships that come to the States are all foreign flags. So, state pilotage is a system where it's governed by the individual state. And so the governor has that authority. He gave commissions to all of us to basically protect the state's interest. So instead of a bunch of people out there competing over business and potentially putting safety at risk, bringing a ship into the channel when it's not safe to do so in a bad weather event could plug up the artery for the country.
Right.
So we're all individually commissioned by the governor to represent the state's interest. So when it's safe to move, we do it. And so every ship that comes in will have one of us state licensed pilots on there that are dedicated to that waterway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So, for the audience too. So at what point in time, when these ships are coming in, right, they're coming out from the ocean, and like, where is that trigger where it's like, okay, you got to stop, and now the pilots get involved?
Yeah. Well, so the real point is the sea buoy, which is about 6-8 miles offshore.
Okay.
And that's where the water really starts to get too shallow that you have to get in that narrow channel.
Okay.
So that's where your pilot's going to get on board. It's going to be meeting ships in tighter, more restrictive areas.
Gotcha. And so I guess the premise is that these guys are coming in, they've been out in the ocean, and now things have to get a little bit more detail oriented as to how you get through the channel. I would imagine you guys have it mapped out 24/7 at all times, what's going on in that little, because tell us a little bit of background about how much actual, maneuvering and things that are taking place. It just seems like boat comes in, boat comes out, but at that point of 6 miles out, how much more technical does it get?
The best thing is piloting is like a second career. So Matt and I both went to sea, and we were on ships. When the captain gives standing orders, when you're crossing the ocean, the captain says stay 2 miles away from everything. If you can't stay 2 miles away from something, you call the captain immediately. It's like a big deal.
Okay.
That's like a close quarter situation when it's 2 miles.
2 miles.
And so when you're getting close to the sea buoy and we're in the ship channel, we're passing another large ship 100 feet apart. So
for someone that wants to be a pilot, when you get within 2 miles of a ship in the ocean, you get kind of excited.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, there's something to do.
Yeah,
but the ocean's pretty vast.
Yeah.
You feel lonely out there at times.
Yeah. And that, I know, I can imagine. They're like, don't get within 2 miles. You're like, all right, I guess it's just us.
Yes.
And then you guys are zipping past other ships at like 100 feet.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you can physically stand outside and
we park them about 50 feet off of one another.
That's just wild. That's
and
great.
before you even start the training process, you have to get a Coast Guard license. So, after you've been to sea 15 years, you have to study for your Coast Guard license. It's a blank sheet of paper that you have to then draw the channel on with all the beacons and ranges and all the buoy systems on there. And once you put it on there on a blank sheet of paper, then they put it on the real chart. It's got to line up exactly on a knife edge. So it's one of those.
And this sheet of paper is like 3 foot by 2 foot.
Yeah.
We're not talking about a letter size sheet of paper.
That's insane.
Yes. And so it's one of those, one of those exercises you don't even think your brain's possible to do until you do it, and you're like, wow, I didn't even know I could do that.
Well, yeah,
Something like that.
that's so
a lot
cool.
of studying for
That's
that.
so amazing how you guys are capable of doing that. So, and then are there things that are, I mean, obviously water shifting, things are maneuvering. How often are, I guess what I'm thinking of is like, I'm imagining, like I have a friend who goes fishing in the bay, and he'll go out there and walk around in the bay, and like he's that serious about it, and get an understanding of where the dirt's moved, and because it's different from weekend to weekend.
Different reefs and stuff.
Is it the same thing with you guys?
Sure.
Okay, so how do they keep that stuff up to speed? You got guys trekking around out there and kind of logging everything and keeping tabs and updating you guys?
Oh, I mean, that's part of being a pilot, and that's part of the individual port is you learn the port and you learn where the tide's going to impact you. You learn where things are going to tend to shoal, where you need to slow the ship down to avoid the shoal. But then on top of that, I mean, Galveston Bay is a narrow, shallow bay. The river going up, the bayou is very narrow. So it takes a lot of money to maintain it out of the federal budget. The Army Corps of Engineers does a tremendous job just continually dredging the ship channel.
Awesome. So this could be like a 3-hour episode because I can nerd out and just want to know all the cool stuff about what you guys are doing. So we'll keep moving the ball down the field. But from a business perspective, now we're kind of pivoting and thinking of just how significant our channel is, right? We talk about what are the complexities behind how much volume we do. Like you mentioned, we're a kind of a shallow channel, right? Compared to other regions, other areas in the country, where do we stand in regards to amount of volume, and then also compounded by the complexities? I guess if you were to look at what you guys are doing every day, does that make sense?
Yeah,
how different is it than perhaps working off the coast of LA or off the coast of New York when you're down here in Texas?
I think our culture, the pilots, it stems from the culture of Houston itself. It's a can-do attitude. Don't like roadblocks. Don't like to say no. Yeah. How can we do something? How can we get it across the goal line, right? So many years ago, the channel was so narrow. The Army Corps of Engineers said, this has to be one-way traffic based on the design, and the pilots in industry said, how can we make two-way traffic out of this? Because we have this huge roadblock. It's 25 miles across the Galveston Bay. If we have one-way traffic, it delays so long, several hours in one direction before you can move it the other. So they created this ship maneuver. We call it the Texas chicken. You have two ships approaching each other, and a half a mile before they have a head-on collision, they break around each other, and they use the bank effect and the ship effect to hold each other off and then get back in the middle of the channel.
That's so cool.
So by doing that and doing two-way traffic really exploded of what Houston could be, to where we're now moving upwards of 20,000 ships a year, more than LA and New York combined. We do about 60 ships a day. So every 20 minutes we got a ship going.
That's insane. That's crazy. That's just mind blowing to me. So that was great way for us to pivot, because I think that kind of teased us up. You said several years ago, whatever, was it 20 years ago? They decided to start
50 years ago.
50 years ago, we started doing the Texas chicken. Great name for that, by the way. I mean, it's like so appropriate for who we are, And then now, fast forward, we've gone from, a daytime ops to kind of an overnight 24 hours ops. Mm-hmm. So we've taken it at another level to be able to do more work and get more stuff done and push the envelope, which, again, is the Texas way. So
sure.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Matt?
Yeah. We just completed Project 11.
Okay.
Tremendous project. It's the 11th project in the history of the Houston Ship Channel, hence 11. And that was widening the bay reach up to 700 feet. So that can get the bigger post-Panamax container ships in to the port without the restrictions. And what it's really done is allow us to start moving everything 24/7.
Wow.
So the restrictions that have faced the Houston Ship Channel for years have come off January 1st this year. And we're really going to see tremendous growth of outbound crude oil, LPG, inbound containers. our region's growing so much, the volume in the port's growing, so we had to be able to expand into nighttime operations to keep up.
Especially during the wintertime where you have that night window compact,
right.
and trying to and then we have that word that, the F word, that the only F word pilots don't like to say, it's fog, right?
Oh, yeah.
So we don't like to say that word. But when you have a fog event and then, what would typically take maybe 3 or 4 days to try to get all those daylight restricted vessels in after it cleared, with the 24-hour operation, it cleans up much quicker because you can move them all night long.
Oh, got
and
it.
so it really gets the channel back up to speed. When you're talking about $1 trillion impact to the nation a year, the Houston Ship Channel provides, you think about 1 day of channel closures, $2.5 billion.
That's
so
wow.
That's huge numbers. So when you think about that kind of delay, I think last year we had maybe 25 days of fog.
We actually have
closures.
the most fog advisories in the United States. Most people think it's San Francisco Bay, right? But our region has the most fog advisories. Our weather shifts so much on us during our winter season.
Sorry, you said $2 billion a day?
2.5.
So $2.5 billion times 25 when the fog advisory pops up.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So that, it's this
Wow.
big push to try to figure out, okay, what can we do? We want to do it safely. We don't want to risk the economic engine in the artery for the nation, but we want to do it safely. But how can we cut down on that? And I think that this was a huge step forward. And kudos to the Port of Houston to really pump that Project 11, got it tremendously quicker than any project had ever been done before. With the help of the local sponsors to get that channel dug across the bay, really escalated it and brought us to that next level.
So did you guys have to? Let me back up too. So for example, today I drove in and it was foggy. So that means right now, if it's still foggy out there, we're not running.
Right. We're just starting to get.
Well, the sun's coming
now
up.
that the sun's coming up.
So we're starting to assign pilots right now with the anticipation that it'll clear
up. Okay, got it. Okay.
So we've got a small window just because we're back and forth right now.
Yeah, but in the meantime, when that fog hits, it's like shut her down.
Because it's usually in here, in this area, instead of like San Francisco, where it's kind of foggy and it's a haze. You can still kind of see maybe a couple of miles. Here, it's either it's foggy or it's not.
Right.
And so when it's fog, you can't see. I can't see Matt across this table. It's like that.
Yeah.
And so, and if it was just ship traffic out there in the bay, we work with each other so much, and our training program's so good, and we got great computer systems. We probably could do that maneuver in zero visibility with another ship, but we have 20,000 ships a year. We have 200,000 tow movements. And so those tug and barges don't have pilots, and sometimes they're not always local, so they don't know the waterway like we know it. And so we got to mitigate
lot of risk.
those. And then you have a shrimp boat. Maybe you have people that could be on a sailboat trying to get into Clear Lake and didn't make it before the fog hit and don't know exactly where they are. So you add all that complexity, and it's like it's a recipe for disaster.
No, 100%.
So
yeah. So do they? So and I'm just curious on this. So does, like, when the fog hits, is that all boats are shut down, or you guys are just shutting down? Like, so these shrimp boats and all this other stuff, do they have the same type of regulations that they can't, or is it so they just say, hey, port's shut?
We shut down ship traffic.
Period.
So yes.
Okay.
And so they don't always necessarily stop.
Listen.
So they might still move.
Okay.
Typically they don't because they can't see.
Most mariners do not like being in
just
fog.
mariners just don't want to be in fog.
It's not the ideal condition.
Okay,
Yes.
got it. Every mariner listening to me is going, this dude's such an idiot.
No,
we
for
all
sure.
know that guys don't want to
No,
drive.
there's people that said, "Oh man, I can do it. I got a radar," and until something bad happens, and then like, man, I shouldn't have left.
That was a poor life
Yeah,
decision.
yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So talk about Project 11. So when do we know, like, when this started, and now that we've come to finality, how long has that been a project in the works, and how long did it take to get there?
It's one of the quickest in history of all our projects, right? It was kind of moved forward with industry and collaboration. So it was really pushed. I think the project started around 2016, 17, and being done with the first piece of it in at the end of 25 is record speed for an Army Corps project.
That's unbelievable.
The Port of Houston kind of carried the weight, did the project, handed it over to the Army Corps. So it was a really accelerated. When you look at these projects, they usually take 20, 25 years from when you initially start planning them, getting the federal funding. But the port kept the ball moving, industry collaborated. So we're really seeing the benefits rather quickly, which is perfectly in line with, as the Permian Basin, all the oil and gas that flows down here is really growing. So it's perfect timing.
Yep. And so our audience, there's so many different moving pieces, right? You got state legislation, you got local legislation, you got, I don't know how many different counties, I think, or cities just touch the port. I think there's 4 or 5 counties that are touching the port, and then
a lot.
Oh yeah, a lot. Yeah, right. So you have all these kind of moving pieces, and then the pilots are their own entity, right? You're not you're an arm of the port, or so they're their own entity,
right?
How does that kind of nuance work? Is there I guess what I'm saying is they're coming to you from a consultant perspective. Hey, we're working on this project. They bring you guys in for counsel on how are we going to do this with the ships.
Correct.
But I won't say report to. Who is y'all's direct communication to? Is it the ship channel or the port? Like who or is it the state? Who do you guys do most of y'all's communication to?
I think everybody, right?
Yeah, that's a perfect answer. Everybody on a daily basis.
Right.
Okay,
yes.
Yeah. That's why
and it's really it's really working all things together, and it's really what makes Houston too, because we're all coming together. We meet each other at a minimum a weekly basis,
right?
If not sometimes daily, several times a day, and all the boards and all the events we're at.
You don't move 20-something thousand ship movements, 200,000 barge movements. You just don't do that in a port without incredible teamwork, collaboration, cooperation. Everyone just on the phone working. I mean, we have one of the best ports in the country. They're always engaged working with people, our terminals. I mean, everyone here works. You have competitors in the same industry that work together to make things happen for the port.
They just know that there's enough business to go around to all of them if we work together. If they were all competing and didn't share anything and working against each other, we'd be a fraction of what we are. But by collaborating and everyone on the same team and page, there's enough business for everybody.
Right. Now, how many ports are there in Texas?
7 deepwater ports.
Seven
deepwater ports. Ports. So there's 7 state pilotage. There's 7 ship channels.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. See, I wouldn't even known that. I know of us. We're obviously the big one, the biggest one.
Yep.
But then we have 7 that are
all Beaumont's extremely growing. Corpus Christi is growing.
Okay.
With the LNG expansion primarily, it's driving a lot of growth. Brownsville used to be a sleepy port. They're getting 2 LNG projects. If those 2 projects in 2027, if they both come online with full capacity, they'll be the largest exporter of LNG in the country. And they used to only have 3 pilots. They're going to have to grow to 12 in a few years just to maintain that growth.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's exciting. So, and all here in the great state of Texas. I think one of the things that really stood out to me about what you were just saying about, I love that answer. We kind of have to communicate to everybody, and I think that really embodies kind of the Economic Alliance's vision and mission, right? Which is there is no this is such a collaborative effort down in this neck of the woods. I think people drive by and you see the magnitude of everything. I mean, every time I drive down here, I'm always in awe of it. I grew up down here, and I wasn't as in awe of it. But now when I drive back by, and you appreciate the backdrop, you go,
sure.
You're thinking about all the ships coming in and out of that when you're driving over the big 610 bridge, and you're looking down and you're looking at all those facilities, and then you're looking at all the cargo, all that stuff. The cars just lined up because they're coming off of ships. You're looking at all that stuff and thinking that's crazy. But then you go a layer deeper and realize that it's not just the ship channel; it's the guys who have to work at TxDOT to figure out how to get the roads to work, and then you got to figure out how to backfill guys to drive enough ships to do that, and how, and then you got to work through state legislation, then you got to get government legislation. I mean, it's like a full mill deal. And then you got the Economic Alliance down here, which is their job is to kind of be an advocate for how all those things work in concert together. It's just, it's mind numbing to me.
Economic Alliance, a great partnership for that. And again, some of the same partners we deal with on the same basis, our board members are actively involved in the Economic Alliance as well, right. And so going up to the DC trip, and we all working together, we know that, the cargo, for it to be efficient for everything, it has to get from the waterway on the roads to wherever it's going. And so any hiccup in that supply chain bottlenecks everything down. Right. So we're always working together, whoever it is, to make sure that stays open.
So obviously lots of growth, lots of, it sounds like everything is, momentum driven down here, and we're doing some great things. Thank you for sharing all the cool stuff that is going on. What are some of the biggest challenges that you guys think we could potentially face over the next decade? Let's say in the maritime industry in general. What do you think are the biggest obstacles that you foresee you guys could be facing?
I mean, as the most concerning we have for state pilotage is we're all about safety on the waterway, clean water, keep the cargo in the ship, keep it, in the pipelines, all those things, right? Yeah. And I mean, we live here, our families are here, we're dedicated to this place. We want it better. We don't want to put anything at risk. So we're all about a clean environment, but as we do this global initiative to do emissions to zero emissions by 2050, there's this huge initiative. They're trying to lower the emissions of these ships, which sounds like a great initiative, especially when you're going across the open ocean. Right. But once you start to get in a narrow waterway, some of the initiatives to lower those emissions are cutting the horsepower from the ship. Well, from our position, the last thing we want is a ship to be less maneuverable in a tight environment.
Like limiting your brakes going down the freeway, right? Imagine if I told you in Houston, I'm going to limit your brakes to about 50%. You'd have a problem. Right. If you lived on a farm in West Texas, not a big deal.
Yeah, you just slow down further back.
Right.
But when you're driving down 610, all of a sudden there's this traffic jam, and it all of a sudden happens.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. The other one we use is if the captain, before you took off on your next flight, said, you know what, to save some emissions on this trip, we're only going to use half throttle to get up and only less throttle to slow us down when we hit the runway. Right. Now, how many people would be interested in saving emissions during that particular moment? Like, you use everything you can get to make sure I'm safely in the air and safely stop on the runway, right? Yeah. And then you can do whatever you want once we're and that's kind of our perspective.
And you got to think pilots are environmentalists. We are there to protect the local environment. Right. That's why the state has us there. We're there to protect the infrastructure, the environment. Right. So we have to kind of weigh the risk, reward, and mitigation, right? Like, what's the reward? What's the risk? And the real risk is a bigger environmental incident as opposed to emissions.
Yeah. So you're talking, this makes perfect sense. So I slow down the horsepower. The boat can't maneuver the right way, which is totally cool when you're 100 miles.
When you're worried about 2 miles from
thousands of miles probably removed from different people at certain stages of the ocean, even 2 miles. Yeah. But when you need to maneuver a ship between 100 feet and you go to step on that thing and it just doesn't respond,
right?
That's a problem.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess even from that perspective, you're talking about a whole different level of training. I mean, we're talking about a whole different level of it creates a whole.
We're talking about mitigation strategies, right? Yeah. Mitigation strategies come with the cost and emissions.
Yeah. So, right. So you're going to add tugboats, or you're going to whatever to make sure that vessel can maneuver, which is going to blow away any savings you had in an emissions perspective.
So interesting. So when all these things are happening, this is where this kind of unified front of trying to get the message out there, where you guys serve. It's interesting. Did you ever think that you, when because I know at a minimum you guys have been on ships probably 20 plus years now?
Sure.
Yeah. Did you ever think 20 plus years ago you'd be worried about this kind of stuff when you signed up to start piloting ships?
It's a lot of things I wouldn't
Right.
have thought about 20 something years ago
right.
that I'm
Yeah.
at now.
Yeah. I mean,
You know,
Yeah, ships are good. I mean,
But I mean, it's
what
just
used
crazy,
to be a big
right?
ship
I mean,
20 years ago is nothing today, so
Yeah.
Right.
it's crazy.
and these
how the
projects, you got to
sizes-
think Project 1, Project 2, now we're at Project 11. I always tell people it's like Field of Dreams, right?
yeah,
If you build it, they will come.
right.
Mhm.
So the channel's wider, the bigger ships are coming to Houston.
Right.
The more projects, development projects are going to come to Houston.
What used to be the largest container ship we brought in could fit 8,000, 9,000 containers on it.
Right.
Now, just 100 foot longer can almost double the capacity. It'll be 15, 16,000 containers on that ship. So that's the kind of growth that's coming.
Wow.
And it is coming in a month. So, I just wanted to step back a little bit with what you were talking about with us all working together. I think we're talking about from, a state or local state, then U.S. perspective, but then it also takes, our partnership with the Coast Guard and, the American Pilots Association. Then there's the International Pilots Association working with IMO, where a lot of these regulations are coming from. So it's an international thing because we're signed with a treaty. So anything they do or produce, we have to kind of abide
Right.
by. So, we really have to stay, united in a global sense to make
Right.
sure that, stay safe. So it's pretty wild.
Yeah, no, I mean this podcast has taught me so much just from the different people we've had on here on the layers upon layers of stuff that you guys are responsible for. And to be very candid, man, I just want to thank you guys because for your continuous development to be able to step into a role like this and then continuously have to evolve is unbelievable to me as I think about it, because I can't imagine. I mean, everybody's evolving, but I can't imagine, like I said, signing up to go pilot ships, and then now you're in legislative discussions, and you're in all these other
Back to that things I wouldn't imagine
Yeah,
20 years ago.
yeah, it's so cool that you guys are doing it. So I do have a question as we get ready to wrap up, and this is just pivoting more to you guys just because I'm intrigued by it. So obviously lots of training, lots of development from a safety. That's what's happening for these 100 pilots, right?
Mhm.
That's a given. Right. You guys, how are you guys being shaped in a way that is it, hey, you guys you're the presiding officer, you're second officer, good luck. So how do you guys grow and continue to be able to step into these rooms? Cause you go from being a ship captain to now wearing a hat of a legislative guy, and then of a businessman, because you're having business. You're wearing a lot of different hats every day, guys. What are you guys doing to develop yourself and continue to grow?
Well, one, I'm thankful I have this guy here
Okay.
because it not possible by yourself. Just couldn't happen. So we have a great team. So not only Matt, but then the other folks in our office, whether it's dispatch or our CFO or our port agent, just extremely great support there at the office level. But then you look at, again, that partnership that we have with the Coast Guard and the terminals on the channel, and then even the state representatives and the U.S. reps, are just you learn it, as you're partnering with it.
Yeah, I think we got the easiest job in the world. We represent 100 of the most professional captains I've ever been around. That take their job seriously. They love their work. I love coming to work every day. But to me, it all goes back to how you act on the bridge of a ship. When you get on a ship, they've never met you. You have to build a rapport and a relationship in 1 minute for them to trust that you're going to take care of them. You're taking control of their vessel from
$100-something million vessel plus the cargo is
so
right.
To me, it just goes back to kind of the social interaction on the bridge of a ship. Now we're doing it in the state capitol or in Washington. Right. Just treating people with respect. I think it's
building relationships.
It's easy, to communicate what we do is pretty neat. I mean, it can be a very stressful job.
You've got guys that are ship captains that probably don't even speak your language. That probably or maybe
very little.
Very little of it.
Well, not only the language, their culture is totally different. Right. You're stepping into their home. Yep. So you have to adapt to their culture. I'm not going to bring our culture to them.
Yeah. Right.
Sure.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. So like this is I can only imagine if you're a ship captain, that ship's your baby, right? Like you take absolute ownership.
It's his livelihood. And I mean, some of these captains or deckhands, I mean, they may spend 11 months on that ship, go home for a month and then come back. I mean, they don't have another job profession other than that one. So they're risking their only job potentially in their life, because if they do something wrong, they could get their license pulled. So that's the interesting thing about the maritime world, right? You don't perform anything, whether it's a pilot, captain, whatever, without a license endorsement. Yeah. So, you lose that because of a bad mess up. You don't have a job in that industry.
It's game over.
It's game over.
Done.
And I always tell every pilot I train, remember, if they don't have the right visa, that sailor might come across the ocean. You might be the only American you ever meet. You might be that vessel, that captain. You might be his impression of our country.
Oh, wow.
So treat them with respect. Show them our hospitality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so cool. Now, do you guys have? It's my mind's like racing because I'm thinking, okay, so have you had overlap where you've seen the same guys come through?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All the time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of guys.
Largest, chemical facility, complex in the world, back and forth with Rotterdam. So, a lot of those chemical carriers, they may come to six docks in and out, and then they'll go on their little round and then come back again. So,
okay, so you got some regulars,
yeah, sure,
right? And then they're just rotating in and out. So.
Yeah, we got people to visit all over the world. We just got to get time to do it.
Yeah. I was say you got a huge list of friends.
Yeah,
right. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. Well, before we wrap up, is there anything that you felt like we didn't cover that maybe our audience would want to hear, or anything that you guys want to make sure we capture?
I think we did a great job, but it was great coming back again. It's been a few years.
Yeah, it has been.
But it's always nice sitting down to talk to you, Jason.
Yeah, so we appreciate it. So I got a text from Amanda, right? And she, because we can't have both hosts with two people on the show, and so she's like, hey, who wants to get down here for the first episode, because we got the two guys from the pilots coming, and I was like, done. Like I'll be there. Like. I just think you guys are the coolest guys in the world. Special ops of the Ship Channel. I love it.
We miss it, Zeke, but I mean, it was nice having Matt on here. I remember 3 years ago, just entering this role, I was like, oh my God, I got to go on a podcast. What the heck am I going to say? I'm like freaking out.
Yeah, it's back to that 20-year thing.
Yeah. It's so cool. Yeah. You guys are just, y'all crushed it today. Great stuff. Like I said, this is one of those things we could do for hours, because I think our audience would just totally love to hear about the day in life and whatever's going on in y'all's worlds. But
follow us on social media. You can kind of check it out. So we are always posting pictures and videos and stuff like that. So
absolutely, y'all need like those things with the if you log on the social media page, kind of like the Top Gun glasses.
Oh shit!
Like you get the boat or the ship out, and it's like right. Yeah, that'd be so cool. No, I just really, again, from us as both at the Economic Alliance, our audience, me personally, want to thank you guys. 24 hours a day, the work that goes into it. I'm a big believer and have a huge heart for people who have they take their craft, and then they don't just do their craft, they take their craft to that kind of next level. And in my opinion, the pilots is probably sounds like to me maybe the highest echelon of where you could get in any port, right?
Yes.
To be able to go in and take these 1,000-foot vessels with worth God knows how much money on them, and do things like the Texas chicken and weave them in and out and do that kind of stuff. That's just stud stuff, man. Yeah. It's like really, really cool. So really great to have you guys today. Really appreciate your hard work, your sacrifice, the things that you put into making our port region a better place.
Thanks again, Jason.
Thank you.
And then for our audience, we want to thank you for tuning in. This is a super fun episode. Hopefully you enjoyed it. You'll pass it along. I would also encourage this. We have a workforce development arm. And so, man, the pilot's a great opportunity. And these guys, they're pretty young looking fellas, right? So, and they're running a huge organization that's got a great opportunity here in the great state of Texas. And it sounds like it's just growing. So you might know a young adult who's trying to figure out what they want to do, and they're not 100% sure. So that's the beauty of this type of industry is you could go. We've got a maritime school down here as part of San Jack and some other great areas here in the state of Texas where that young adult who's trying to figure out what they're going to do with themselves, they get plugged into the Coast Guard, they get plugged into something of this nature, and maybe fast forward 20, 30 years down the road, they're one of the Houston pilots. And so I would encourage you to share this with somebody who's maybe trying to figure out what they want to do next, that 14, 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old that doesn't really know maybe where they want to take their trajectory. There's a huge opportunity in the maritime space, and we need more bodies.
They can't get enough. Can't get enough mariners.
Yeah,
so,
can't get enough mariners. And so encourage you to do that. It's part of our heart, part of our mission here at the Economic Alliance. Pay it forward, pass it along, and as far as that's concerned, we do appreciate you guys. We look forward to seeing you guys next week.